I was under the assumption that that meeting would take place prior to seeking anything from the state, that the budget committee chairman, the treasurer, and the town administrator would meet and have a discussion about the situation which would lead to that. I'm under that opinion. I told you that because I truly believe that that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, can I
Can
make a suggestion? I think we've had 2 meetings where the Budget Committee's chairman position has been abundantly clear. And I'm not certain what purpose a meeting would serve at this point. I mean, you're not going to change your opinion.
Well,
In fact, you've also just tipped your hand about how the moderator was going to say and rule out of order
No,
any increase over $27,000.
I think the solicitor's already taken care of that with the moderator, Louise.
Well, I just heard your position.
My position is clearly known. I'm not, that's my position. I'm not going to hide that.
So what that means is that position would lock this town in to accepting without comment or vote the Budget Committee's recommendation.
Because I happen to believe in the tax cap. It's very simple.
The tax cap is not, you have misstated the tax cap, Jeff. And we're not reading the entire law.
Mr.
I think the meeting would be
Mr. Bowen, you stated at the meeting a week ago that there would be a meeting with the treasurer, myself, and the town administrator. You've also alluded in the past that there may be a vote at that meeting because there were 3 people, and I've heard you allude in the past that, potentially there could be a vote at that meeting.
if you have a meeting and the recommendation comes from the meeting, I don't set the tone of the meeting, but I was under the impression that there was going to be a meeting prior to us taking anything to the state between the treasurer, the administrator, and the budget committee. And that was the procedure in which to apply for or to ask for the information we're requesting. I was under that. I so stated that publicly. I still think. I thought that that was going to take place. Until you told me tonight it didn't, I didn't know it didn't.
Well, the meeting did not occur.
And I'm going to allow you to.
If I can make a comment on that, please. Okay. First of all, there's no vote at that type of meeting. Okay, the vote has been taken by the Budget Committee. The vote has been taken by anybody who has to take a vote. Those numbers that went forward were your numbers. Okay? So if you want to sit there and watch me use your numbers, that's fine. Okay, but time was of the essence. We had to get it in by today. Okay, and sometimes you're not always available. Sometimes I can't even reach you by cell phone. Okay, and they were your numbers. Nobody's numbers other than the Budget Committee's numbers. So what possibly could you have added to that?
Well, I'll tell you what I could add, is that since there is no policy in place, I would argue simply that there is no need to go seek this guidance because the Budget Committee recommendation per the charter is the official budget and it's under the cap.
You're mixing things up. What we went for is a necessity. You have to get the...
So you've already submitted it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, you've already submitted it. So we're voting after you've submitted it. You've already submitted this request to the state today, and we're about to take a vote after you submitted it?
Jeff,
That's what you're saying.
you've got things confused. You don't understand, apparently. Let me explain it to you, okay? The council president has to sign a disclosure statement telling and announcing what the tax rate is going, proposed tax rate.
I think I have a draft copy of that, yes.
Okay. That's your numbers.
I understand.
Okay?
What's that got to do with
And
this vote?
That's all that happened. That's all that happened.
So what's that got to do with this vote?
Nothing else has happened,
Okay.
okay? So don't confuse
Then why
things.
did you bring it up? It has nothing to do with this vote.
Who brought it up? You brought it up.
You didn't know about it.
Sally Black, 64 Broadview Drive, and Tiverton School Committee. A few statements have been made, and I think we all know if the town has an audit, we all wait for the audit to be presented after they go over the numbers back and forth and study it intensively. And we hear the school usually have a very modest, surplus. I've been to meetings in Providence where people brag, oh, we have a huge surplus. And I heard the guy say up there, don't you brag about that, because that means you're overtaxing the people. This year, we did have a surplus for the pension. The state gives you money, as you all know, they take it away, they tell you you better send that check. It's a difficulty, they'll get that by midnight, or you're not getting the rest of the money, the whole town isn't. It's been incredible. I stood up here before and said it's like being on quicksand, trying to figure out these numbers. But we all know there's an audit, and when that number came out this year, the school committee immediately voted to turn that over to next year's budget. We didn't spend it out, we didn't put it into contracts, we said, we're going to put it to next year's budget to help next year's budget. Okay. The other thing is, for 5 years I've been on the school committee. I've been talking to some people's dismay about the defunding of public education by the federal and state government. You want to all look at the numbers. It's always been 600, 700,000 from the federal government for IDEA, that's special needs and Title I restricted funds. Nothing's hidden. Okay, this year we got the stimulus, and that put everything all over the place. But for 5 years I've been saying that the federal government and the state government better step up because it's on our backs. 70 or 80% from the town, in the 20s from the state, and 3 to 4, I always say, from the federal government. Nothing's been hidden. Thank you.
My motion was seconded, Mr. President.
I will second it.
No, I
Okay.
second it.
Oh, yeah, yes.
No, I'm talking about the motion. Okay, while I'm sure that the issue before us is whether or not to seek an advisory opinion on eligibility for exceeding the cap. I am somewhat disappointed because I thought there was going to be a meeting between, and I don't care if everybody knows what somebody's position is prior to going to a meeting. If a meeting should take place between a group of people, it should take place. The outcome is, irrelevant, but that meeting, I think, was part of a policy we had discussed, and whether or not we implement a policy, it's something that really should take place.
But the administrator indicated they couldn't take a vote at that meeting.
Whether or not
Then
they
you was the meeting.
Well, he didn't say that. That's not what we're talking about. He's talking about the certification that went to the newspaper.
No, the
disclosure statement. There was no vote to be taken on that. That's there. I wish that meeting would have taken place. I publicly stated I was of that opinion. I know I had a conversation and you would say you should have that meeting, and I'm disappointed that it didn't take place.
But you know
But
what?
we have to move
There's
forward.
nothing that says anything, anywhere, that the budget committee has to be at that meeting. It's the town administrator and the treasurer's position.
No. In all of our discussions, and I don't think there was any argument among anybody sitting at this table that that was one issue that wasn't, one that was maybe we didn't, no. But I mean, we discussed it many times, and I just thought we were going to continue with that. And I publicly stated it, and I'm a little disappointed it didn't take place, because it is a step in the right direction. Sit down, argue your points, 2 out of 3 people make a decision, and we move forward with whatever that decision.
We didn't do
Well, we
it.
didn't do that, but there's a motion, there's a motion and a second, and the discussion's been cut off. Is it time to vote on the motion? All those in favor?
Could I make an inquiry, Mr. Costa? Only, I'm not going to argue, I'm not going to argue any of the issues, but Mr. Costa, with your permission, could I make one comment? Because I did promise you that I wouldn't say anything further, but just one more comment.
Certainly, Mr. Lambert. As long as it's short.
For a couple of meetings, I have been arguing that we have to develop some processes and procedures for people to know what they're doing. I really put some effort into going through this, understanding the form, understanding the recommendations, worksheet. And now I arrived here today, and I'll just make this comment in reference to it. I now discover something called an advisory opinion. There's something called a letter of inquiry. I've never heard either one of them. My only point is, Mr. Constant, is we've got to get a process down. We've got to get a procedure down so that at least people on the town council understand it.
Maybe the letter of inquiry will give us.
Can I just make